Welcome to the podcast. The Aging Queen. Welcome to the podcast. Welcome. And welcome back to another episode of The Aging Queen. My name is Louis Canetti. I'm here with our usual suspects, Robbie from Madrid, Spain, and James from Columbus, Ohio. Hey, guys.
Hello.
Hello.
So what's new?
I literally just got back home from a day trip to Toledo in Spain.
Oh, I thought it was Ohio.
No, not a day trip to Ohio. Not yet. Maybe in the future. But no, I had a great time. Walked a lot.
Say hello to James.
Hey, yeah, exactly. We'd be neighbors almost. But
That's true.
is Toledo near Columbus?
It's it's north of Columbus. I want to say it's like a couple of hours
Oh,
away.
well.
So so not like, well, basically like there's like the three major cities in Ohio are Cleveland, Cincinnati, and Columbus, and they're all pretty much like, 2 hours. Well, Columbus is in the center, so Columbus is like 2 hours from each of them.
Okay.
So
A
yeah.
little bit of the middle of everything. That's
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
You
exactly.
say Toledo, I say Toledo.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well,
exactly.
yeah, I was gonna say in Ohio, well, we have Toledo, Ohio, but I would imagine if it's Spain, I would say
Mhm.
Toledo.
Yeah.
Tell us what which
Mhm.
Toledo,
Yeah.
Spain is famous for. What did you see? What did you do?
Well, it's not a fully walled city, but it still has lots of the old walls. So walked around them. Um, saw the Greco Museum. He's an artist from the 16th century, and
Uh-huh.
not my favorite, but still very impressive. Lots of work of his, but his most famous paintings are in Madrid. So, oops. Anyway,
He's the
so
one that painted every time he painted himself and he
mm,
used and the fingers, right? Like the fingers
mhm,
stretched out.
yeah, and lots of different looking faces that are kind of fugly, but are unique, let's say. So it's interesting. And then walked around the Alcazar, Roman baths, lots
Ooh.
of history, lots of medievalness. So it was really pretty. Had a great time. Walked around 20 kilometers, and
Wow.
um, rude, loud, drunk American tourists on the train on the way back.
Oh
So,
no.
yeah. So I was quiet.
Oh good.
Yeah, that's
You
fine.
didn't break it down for them?
No, because it was only a 30-minute train. So I just had AirPods and I was fine and a sandwich. But it was only 30 minutes. So it wasn't the end of the world. But
Oh good.
such Schadenfreude? No.
Were they
When
drunk or just
they were drunk, loud, rowdy. They were just yelling at each other, but in like a fun kind of way, not angry at each other,
they
but just
were
like,
roasting each other as they do?
yeah, yeah, very New York, New Jersey, East Coast vibes, not knowing how to behave in public.
Hey, yo, oh hey, what's
Mm,
going on over here? We're going to Toledo.
exactly. So, well, I'm glad they had fun, but yeah. So, oh well,
Well, that's great. What about you, James? What's going on?
yeah.
This weekend, not much. I think this weekend is just going to be a chill weekend because last weekend was Pride here in Columbus, and it was
Pride.
so much fun and so exhausting.
Mm.
And now
Nice.
it's just kind of like, all right, like my friends and I, we pretty much said this weekend, no, it's a quiet weekend,
Mm-hmm.
just to chill. And that's what I'm doing.
So you had Pride in Columbus, and Pride is coming up in Spain or in Madrid late June, right? Early July, Robbie?
First Saturday of July. Yeah.
Okay, great. And that's what today's episode is on is Pride and a little bit about the history of it. We're going to talk about the importance of it, why sometimes people think it gets too raunchy,
Mm.
and some of the, events that go along with it, and how recently, well, not so recently, but fairly recently, all these politicians are joining the bandwagon.
Hmm.
So that's what we're going to talk about. Have you guys noticed that lately on these parades, a lot of the politicians who really don't pay attention during the year to the gay community are now their best cheerleaders?
So I did see that in the parade last Saturday that there were some politicians. Um, Basically, I guess, especially I guess when it comes to Pride, like we are the group to sort of like, I don't want to say, I guess pander would be the best word, but they want our vote. So let's hop on a car and ride in the Pride parade. You know,
Woohoo!
exactly. So that's
Well,
I,
how do you guys feel about that? Because I've also noticed tons, especially here in the U.S. more than elsewhere. Corporations also have to have a stake in the game, um, and I think yeah, I'll tell you what I think, but let's see what you guys think.
I think it's a lot of pink washing. I think they're pandering to us. I think it's a lot of rainbow capitalism. And quite frankly, I'm not a fan. So in Madrid, we have the main pride on the first weekend, the first Saturday of July. But before that, there's something called orgullo critico, which is critical pride. So
Hmm.
it's less of the whitewashed, pink-washed, capitalistic, sponsored by Bank of whatever,
Right.
um, and all of these things. Less politicians, less pandering. So it's not gay. It's very queer, if you know what I mean.
Mhm.
It's all over the place when it comes to sexual orientation. Who goes? Um, Pretty left wing, so I think people also look forward to that more every year because main pride event is yeah, it's got a lot of floats, the big vans in the street in the parade. A lot of them are politicians that don't care about the LGBTQ community. They're not the far right. No. They're not welcome. But just don't forget the first Pride was a riot and
Very
a
true.
black trans woman fought for our rights. So let's not forget the origins.
Yeah, it really started here in the U.S. with the Stonewall Riots in 1969 in
Mm.
June, one summer. Actually, when I was living in New York, hang out at Stonewall
You were
all the
there?
time.
You
I'm
threw
that
the
old.
first brick?
I'm that old that I was there. No, I wasn't. I was there several years later, but Stonewall was an amazing place to hang out. And when I was younger, I really did not understand the impact of that bar and that little corner or
Mm.
duplexes. And I now that I'm older, I really appreciate it
Oh
and
yeah.
give thanks for the people that came before us. Here's some little history stuff on it
Yeah.
for you guys who don't want to go on Wikipedia and just want to keep listening to us.
Yeah.
Following World War II, a small number of groups like the Mattachine Society and the Daughters of Bilitis published gay and lesbian positive newsletters and grew more vocal in demanding recognition for and protesting discrimination against gays and lesbians. In 1966, for example, members of the Mattachine Society held a spin in protest at Julius Bar, which is still around, by the way, in New York City, where they demanded drinks after announcing that they were gay in violation of local laws against serving alcohol to gays and lesbians. Despite some progress in the post war era, basic civil rights were largely denied to gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgendered people until one night in June 1969 when the gay rights movement took a furious step forward with a series of violent riots in New York City, also known as the Stonewall Riots,
Woohoo.
June 28th, 1969. Um, so there's more on it online, of course, but people were fed up, and after World War II, um, there were large amounts of civil rights movements, especially in the 60s. But in the 50s was really rough for everyone that wasn't exactly white, straight, cis. So
Male.
this was the spark that lit the match basically for gay rights.
Mhm.
So it's funny for me to think about the fact that Stonewall happened a little over 7 years before I was born.
Yeah, I know. It feels like it's really a long time ago, but it wasn't.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. That's the thing, like, because it's kind of like when when you think about these things, it's like, man, it's almost like it was like the 1800s when you
Yeah.
think about like how far away it was, but it was literally for me just 7 years before I was born. I mean, that's just crazy to me. Mind you, I mean, mind you, I didn't come out until I was 19. So, you know, those, I guess, I wouldn't realize the ramifications of that riot until much later in life. Um, but yeah, that's great that it happened.
Oh yeah, and the
Sad that it
first
had to happen though.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
and the first real Pride March celebration of it, which is also, there's still um a component of it that is not a parade, it's a march, it's a protest. And that happened the next year in 1970 on June 28th. So that's when it just kept going since then, and it spread from different cities to cities, then Chicago, and then San Francisco, LA, and then internationally. Um, what do you guys say to some of these people on the conservative side that say, okay, fine, you have rights, you want rights, you have this wonderful parade every year. Why does it have to be sexualized? Why does it have to be so raunchy? Why does it have to be about sex and drugs and debauchery?
um,
As he
well,
laughs in the background.
yeah, I laugh because I feel like a lot of gay culture was just kind of, I mean, essentially, we were pushed in the closet. So we couldn't be ourselves. And even like our generation, like I said, I came out when I was 19. It wasn't something for me, it wasn't a matter of like I always knew I was gay and then I just admitted to the world. It was a process of figuring it out. And then of course sort of like becoming your true self. And for a lot of people in the gay community, I feel like they don't, for the longest time they were repressed.
Right.
Like we couldn't express our sexuality in public, and now, we have our sort of, our month, our parade, our celebration. So for some people it's kind of like, you know what, I'm just going to be my true authentic self and show the world, you know, what I want to show the world. Um, and for that, I'm kind of like, you know, that's cool if that's what you want to do, you know.
I think
So
a lot of backlash is coming from people, I don't wanna say all, can I say Straggit? Let's call them Straggits. Straggits and their kids
Is that I
coming.
think that word rhymes with something, right?
It does, yeah. Straights, default people with no flavor, no spice, just default people, bringing their kids to Pride, and they think that the kids are gonna see something that they shouldn't see. Well, firstly, I'm sorry, I'm not a parent, so have your opinion on whatever, but, if you can't have a conversation with your kid being like, "Hi, by the way, there's gonna be some adult things here, and if I see them, I'm gonna move your head away, and we're gonna go the other way." Pride is about us, not about protecting
Yeah,
your underage children.
exactly. It's about gays, it's about adult gays. And
Right.
I
Kink
think
has always been at Pride,
yeah,
so if
I
you don't like it, get out.
it's
Sorry.
about, we were repressed, and a lot of this, of our sexuality, which makes us who we are, was labeled illegal, we were
Mhm.
tortured, we were killed because of it.
Yeah,
So it's an expression of ourselves,
yeah.
and sometimes you do have to go a little bit um overboard because it's literally saying we have been liberated from it,
Mhm.
from the oppression of having to be persecuted for being who we are, I always have you guys watched X-Men?
No?
Okay, so X-Men is a great
Wait,
movie, and actually the writing, even
I was,
the go ahead, James.
I was gonna say the movie, the cartoon. Which one are you talking about?
All of X-Men. So, let's just say
Yes,
the
I have.
original movies with, James Marsden and Patrick Stewart,
Sure.
um, and, the writing is so good because they make when they talk about mutants can signify anything, any repressed an oppressed group in society. It's just like whoever's watching just project. So if you're gay or if you're a minority of color, then that they're talking to you. So I project that they instead of mutants, they're talking about gay people, and you just make that switch, mutants, gay people, and it's the same thing. It talks to you, because all the things that the government was doing or the bad guys were doing against the mutants. Um, was very similar to in history what happened to gay people,
Mhm.
not just
True.
gay people, but everyone on the queer spectrum. So I think, you guys, if you haven't seen those movies yet, and look at them again and with different eyes and ears, because it's very good writing, and it really shows you how you can use being different as a superpower.
When you think of mutants, it's just basically another sort of like marginalized group of people who are different than the stereotypical sort of person, I guess, that regular person. Um, so yeah, that's I can see your point, and honestly, like I said, when I've watched those movies, I agree. I've thought of that too. So
Yeah, I mean, it just calls out to you. You're like, okay, wow, okay, little Jan has some special mutated power. She doesn't want to show her parents because she'll be ostracized and she'll have to leave her family.
it's true.
And a lot of people do that. I've met a lot of people growing up that don't talk to their parents anymore because of their sexuality. They come from the South, for instance, and their parents are really religious or their dad's a pastor and it's frowned upon. And still to this day, that happens. Look at a lot of these states in the U.S. They still have conversion therapy on the books as a legal thing. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's sad.
It's very true. I mean, a lot of places here in the United States, you can still lose your job for your sexuality.
Yes.
Um,
What?
oh yeah, yeah. Like there's plenty of places that are not where your job is not legally protected um if your employer wants to fire you because of your sexuality,
It's not protected. Yeah.
it's within their rights to do that.
What?
It's the
Right,
same as any
exactly.
country. Listen, Spain, when the when the gay rights were happening, Spain was still under a dictatorship. So
Oh, yeah.
things still, uh, you know, happen, progress. Life changes, and a new generation brings new light to every topic. But I don't think it's a U.S. thing. I think it's just a human thing. Something different is a threat.
Uh, I don't know. For me, obviously, it's just kind of like it's I guess everything is different when you're, I guess, on the other side, you know? Like for me, I'm looking at this as a gay person and saying that makes no sense. Why would anyone get fired because of their sexuality? I unfortunately I since I didn't make the laws, I couldn't say why they did that. I mean, honestly, I would imagine that they're just scared. But I
Yeah.
don't know what they're scared of. Once again, I guess maybe they're just scared of anything that's different from them. I don't really know. But then that brings us back to the X-Men. I mean, it's the
Yeah.
same thing, you know?
If someone wanted to know about gay people, I would just say watch X-Men. Just watch X-Men, and then after you watch it, let's talk. Because it's literally the same thing, and I would say that issue of all those characters, being mutants. Those the mutants are gay people,
I
not
would
because
probably ask what they want to know about gay people before I send them to X-Men, just just in case.
I'd send them to X-Men first. Um, but so this is why we still have pride. This is why we still have marches. This is why we still go out there and protest, because it's still not 100% accepted in every facet of society. There's still huge elements that discriminate, that purge, prosecute, and and just don't like us, in general. So awareness, acceptance, and being out there on the streets, um, and banging on pots and making as much noise and saying, "We're here, we're not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere, people." So I think that brings I don't like to use the word tolerance because I think it's outdated and it's always made me feel, you know, awful. It's like, why do you have to tolerate me? If you have to tolerate me, I have to tolerate you. It's really about just understanding, and empathy. That's what I think we should look for, not tolerance.
I understand you and your furry boyfriend.
Which I have to say, I feel bad for the furries because, of course, it's
Are we
so
back to the
hot.
furries? Are we
It's
back to the
I
furries?
mean, I was at Pride and I saw some furries and I was like, it's so hot. It was in the 90s. And
Ew.
I thought, you
The worst is
guys,
when the when they have to go to the ER in that suit.
I mean, I don't know, but I like for me, I'm just like, listen, I understand the people who are walking around practically naked because it was hot,
Mm,
you know.
Do they
I
take them to
knew
the
it.
vet or the ER when they have, heat exhaustion?
I mean, I'm sure they take the medics are nearby for sure, you
I
know.
think they take them to the vet.
Probably not. But anyway, like I know, like for me, one of the highlights was walking up to the parade. There was this massive fan provided by the police department, and it was
Ew.
just it was just this huge fan that was like the size of like a dinner table. It was just huge.
Wow.
And I was like, I told my friend, I was like, man, we should come back later and steal it. Because I was like, I was like, that's just amazing. I wanted it for my backyard. But
Wow.
obviously we didn't do it. Not stealing from the police. That's crazy. Not trying to go
Yeah,
to
yeah,
prison for
don't
the
do
rest of
that.
my life. No.
Not that nice of a fan.
Honestly, for me, Pride weekend is one of my favorite weekends of the year. Like I find that um at the end of every Pride weekend, I have this feeling of gratitude,
Right.
of just like absolute gratitude for my friends, for my life, for being able to just be around, people who are like me.
It's a
Um,
big sense of community. It gives
it
you the
is, it really is. I mean, and it's, even though, like, yes, it is pretty much turned into a weekend of just almost, well, for some people, it is a weekend of debauchery. Um, But honestly, Pride Weekend is really what you make of it. Like here in
Mm.
right.
Columbus, we have there's the Pride Festival. So essentially like they set up like all these different booths in a park and they go from Friday to Sunday, and then the Pride Parade is Saturday, and it lasts a good 4 or 5 hours. Like we have one of the largest parades in um the Midwest. I think the only one's bigger than ours is Chicago. Um, and so, and I think we had around, from what I understand, they were estimating that we would have around 700,000 people
Holy.
for our Pride
Yeah,
festivities.
that's
Yeah,
big.
yeah, like our Pride, like Columbus Pride is huge. It's absolutely huge.
That's great.
So,
You
And
said that the next to Chicago, it's the biggest one, right? In
oh
the
yeah, yeah,
and
for
do
sure.
you feel like most of the people there were actually part of the Alphabet Mafia, or were they mostly just like there with their friends and they were treating us like zoo animals and just staring at us from a distance and whatever?
I would say most of the people who were actually at the festival were part of our tribe. You know, obviously there were there were allies for sure, but I would say a lot
Mhm.
of people, because a lot of people come from out of town as
Mm,
well.
yeah.
So like for 700,000 people, that's a lot of
Yeah, they
out of
all
town
don't live
people.
in
Right, exactly. They don't all we don't have 700,000 gay people in Columbus.
no,
That
but
would
they
be
come from surrounding areas
right.
and
They come from all over. It's insane. And so of course, like when you've got all these different people, they're going to like all the gay bars, and then there's the festivals, and then there's the parties, and um, it's just, like, I guess the weekend is what you make of it. Like honestly, you can just go to the festival for 3 days a week and watch performers and or hang out at the different booths and do all this other stuff, or you can go to bars and go to clubs, and
right.
it's
Yeah, and it
yeah.
changes while you age too, because what
Oh
you
yeah.
did when you're 20 at Pride, you probably well, I don't know, a lot of guys still do that at 50, but I'd say 60. Let's say 60. You're not gonna do the same thing
Right.
at 60. And
Right.
even if you do, it's not gonna be your entire, mission to go to these parties or, maybe you're not in the float at the parade. Um but, there's a little bit for everyone. What I like about it is the actual parade because you can walk with them. There is a camaraderie. There's this energy. We are social beings. And when you're around, like what you said, around a lot of like minded people for a positive reason and event, it really triggers a lot of good things and chemicals in your brain. It keeps you going, it, fills up your gas tanks.
I was
Mhm.
gonna say I really agreed with Rob earlier in that a lot of like going back to the topic of like businesses in the Pride Parade.
Mm,
um because like I stood and watched our parade for quite a while, and it was just business after business after business, and a couple of politicians, and there were several churches who marched, which I can understand why they marched, because I think a lot of the people who go to their church are gay. But it was just kind of like with the businesses, the businesses have really figured out that most, well, I should say a lot of gay people, since we don't have children or things like that, we have a lot of
mhm.
dispensable income. So
Or
it's
they
just
think
kind
we
of,
do.
or they think we do exactly, and it's just kind of like they're like, well, yeah, we're going to show your support, because if we show our support, then maybe you'll come spend your money with us.
I
And,
remember one
you
Pride.
know,
When was it? Well, I attended several in New York, but there was one that I really stayed. We had really good seats, near, I believe, Christopher Street, and, we saw the parade coming through. And I was just flabbergasted at how many politicians came out of the woodwork and corporations,
mhm.
to have presence in that. Now, I'm very glad that they did because, what are we gonna hate them for not going and hate them for going? But I just wish a lot of these companies and politicians would be around during the year, not
Yeah.
just during
Right,
June month, Pride
right.
month,
That's true.
Not just
because
changing their logo to a rainbow one and then changing it back
Yes.
when it's July. So, James, I have a question. Kink
Mhm.
at Pride, yes or no?
would you say kink? Yeah,
Kink
let's
at
At
Pride.
let's take
Pride.
it back to the real issues, right?
I
Yeah.
would say yes. And the only reason why I say that is because, once again, um, a lot of people who enjoy that have in the past felt repressed, I would imagine, and been shamed for their kink. You know, like it's crazy to me, like now, the number of friends that I have who are into feet, whereas I can
Okay,
think.
feet's a different thing. The feet are really cool.
Well, but like, like 5 years ago, none of my friends would have told me I'm really into feet. You
Well, I
know,
think we make fun of it so much that it turns something on in our head, like a light switch goes off, and then it's like, "Uh-oh, I made fun of it before, but now it's not a joke
Because it's
anymore."
kind of
right? Exactly,
innocuous.
and that's the whole like kink shaming.
Mm,
It's like now we wouldn't dare. Like if one of my friends came up to me and said that they were into feet, of course I would support them. I'd be like, hey,
yeah.
awesome. You
Yeah,
know, that's
exactly.
not what I'm into, but fantastic.
Yeah.
Same with, having kink at Pride. As, as gay people, a lot of gay people are into kink and have fetishes and, you know, if that's what they want to express, like one
I
of our
think it's
local
liberating. I think to wear those straps and to see people in thongs and in
well,
Speedos is completely liberating.
Yeah.
for some places it makes perfect sense. Like we have this one gay bar here in Columbus that's, it's kind of like the leather sort of jock strappy sort of bar. So a lot of times when they have a float, they have people who kind of represent their bar, which would be wearing like, wearing sort of leather apparel and other like, harnesses and jock straps and stuff like that. And that's just who they are. As a gay person, I know that bar and it makes sense that they would do that, you know. As someone who's not a part of the gay community, I could see how they would be like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe they're doing this." But for us, it's a part of our culture, you know. Like
Sex is a big part of who we are. It's true. You know?
it's true. Like I can. There was one summer I remember um, when I bought a harness because I feel like once you get to a certain age, I feel like a leather harness is required for certain bars.
You get it when you turn 40.
Luckily for me, it was after 40, so I bought one, and I remember that whole summer, there were all every time I went to that certain bar, people would be like, "Why aren't you wearing your harness? Why aren't you wearing your harness?" And I remember the last time I wore it, um, I went to this one bar in Austin, Texas, and it was their grand opening. And once again, it was a bar that was for that. My friends wanted to go. I'm not really like into the leather community, but I have a harness, and so I wore my harness that night. And I was explaining to these two very nice older men how I wasn't all that comfortable wearing it, because I felt like I'd gained weight, and they were so supportive. And that's one of the things that I love about our community at times. That at times random strangers, they just understand how you feel, and they flat out
Right.
said, "Listen, you have nothing to be concerned about." They were like, "Anytime you want to wear that, you should wear that because you look amazing in it." And I was just kind of
Yes.
like, I mean, they totally inflated me when I was down, and I was just like, "Wow, you don't even know me." Same with, and that's one of the great feelings I have about Pride is that when I go to Pride, I'm around all of these people who are just happy to be around each other, happy to, you know, see each other and sort of like build each other up and have a good time, like it doesn't always have to be like crazy running around drinking. It could be just sitting and having a conversation, just
It's
uh,
camaraderie.
it is exactly, it's camaraderie and it's amazing. And that's why like I every it's kind of like it just fills you up
But let me
every
tell you,
single
not
time.
every gay is like that, all right? Because I've gotten a lot of
Definitely
nasty
not
gays.
in
That
this
is true.
world.
That is very true. I can say yes. There's always the opposite side of that, of course, to
All
where
the bad stuff that's ever happened to me in my life has almost always been at the hand of a gay. It's,
I mean,
nasty comments, yeah, just everything.
for me also, like I try to surround myself with good people, but I see it as well. I'm not blind to the negativity and just the bitchiness and the
Well,
sarcastic. Yeah,
I think there's a natural element there of bitchiness and sassiness, but I think it's also lashing out. Um, and sometimes it's you lash out to the ones who are close or the ones that pay attention to you the most. So if you're always in an environment where there's a lot of gay people, that's what's going to happen.
Mhm.
99% are going to be amazing to you, but the couple of assholes are
Mhm.
that haven't healed from their traumas.
Oh, yeah, hurt
Out.
people,
Yeah,
oh
and
yeah, for
we're
sure.
definitely hurt.
Oh
We
yeah.
right.
A lot of people are in different stages of their healing progress, even if they haven't started or thought
Definitely.
about it. It's another closet to come out of, trust me, when it comes
That's
to
what I
people that
mentioned
know
in
it.
other episodes, how we're about 10 years well, I said I felt like I was, you know, 10 years, behind, and I don't care about comparing anymore, but behind, straight, counterparts because they had that whole indoctrination and, early on in middle and high school of dating and being accepted and all this stuff. And I really didn't get that until my early 30s, late
Mhm.
20s, early 30s.
Yeah.
I really I think I'm gonna and that's why I started the podcast. I don't think I'm going to I think I'm ready now, but I'm really going to enjoy being in a very adult long-term relationship in my 50s. I think that's gonna be the time where I really devour and enjoy and let my hair down in a relationship, not just having one, because a lot of people have relationships, um, like they have, faux, steering wheel covers,
Mm.
It's just something to do and get. But I mean to really be present and really, be vulnerable. And, I think it's a process. Some
Yeah,
people it takes longer. And
Good
some
for you.
people what happened to me is you let yourself vulnerable, you let the wrong people in, and then you climb back up and, kind of
And they play
hibernate.
whack-a-mole with your emotions, yeah.
Yeah.
that's true.
It's a lot of
But
a lot of people who do that. A lot of
I
people get off
definitely,
on doing that.
Mhm.
I was gonna say I definitely agree with Rob in that a lot of us are hurt. I mean, we just I feel
A
like life
society.
it is exactly society as a whole, we're hurt and how we deal with that really sort of reflects it shows like the person you really are, you know. Like I feel like if I were to go out into the world with a negative attitude, because of all the negative things that have happened to me, honestly, it would be a very easy thing to do, but I choose not to do that,
Right.
you know. Like I choose to be positive, even though negative things have happened and negative things do happen. Um, and sometimes it's harder to do that, than other times. And honestly, like I've gotten to a point in life when it is harder, I honestly stay home. I stay away from people. Like there's been times when Lewis has texted me or called me when I was like, "Listen, today's not the day."
Mm,
Like
Today is not
it's
the day,
not
my
the day.
friend.
Today is
it's like
not the day.
exactly. I need a moment. I'm just gonna have a chill. Like
Absolutely.
or I've told people like they want to hang out and go do something. I'm like, listen, I am not in a social mood. I am very down right now, and I don't want to bring you down. So I'm gonna stay home.
Yeah,
So
what
mature.
about these yeah, you know what? Everyone needs some time to recover
I,
and
Rob, I'm
heal
sorry.
on a daily basis.
Rob, what were you saying?
No, I'm saying that shows maturity,
Yeah,
being able to grow and being able to know your limits and being able to put yourself in other people's positions and being like, "Hey, I'm not gonna be, my best self right now, so
Right.
let's regroup another time,
Right.
when I'm in a
Exactly.
better mental state or whenever I feel like it, or after I take the time that I need in order to be
right.
social again."
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. And
It's
that's
I'm
also
afraid
things
that's one of the reasons why this weekend is a chill weekend because
Oh, yeah.
last
right.
weekend, Pride weekend is just sensory.
Overwhelming.
Exactly. It is sensory overload. It
Well, and
is
there's
just
just tons of energies everywhere,
yes,
you know?
yes. Like there was, there was lots and lots of people. There was dancing, there
Right.
was fun, there was, like friendship. It
Debauchery.
was debauchery, like it was just so much. And then
Furries.
right, and then
Stop with
now I'm
the
just
furries.
right up to the furries.
Leave them
Shout
alone.
out to the furries.
I mean, yeah,
They love us.
shout
Let
out to the
them.
furries, especially in this heat.
Yeah, let them do what they want.
For real. Y'all are troopers.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, in this heat,
in
geez.
this heat, yes. Whew.
Well, I think pride is still very much relevant and it's very important. I'm really glad that it's spread to the rest of the world. Um, and I think it's a part of our collective healing process. Whether you need to process it, everyone processes their trauma of being gay um, in different ways. And some people process it by getting into very long-term relationships. Maybe it's codependency early on and staying there for like 30, 40 years, even if they have an open sexual relationship. And other people just decide to stay single for a very long time until they feel like they're healthy enough to settle down with someone that's very right for them and they're both open at that time. And for me, that I'm the latter. I have um people they're in long-term relationships. It doesn't mean that they've healed early on. It just
Nope.
means that they use that safety net of having another person around while they're healing, you know?
Yeah, and that's valid. I
It's very
mean,
valid.
is it healthy? Is it fair to the other person? That's up for debate and also depends on the relationship. Sometimes it's needed and necessary, and sometimes it's hindering other people, but you got to take everything with a grain of salt and
You gotta
do
do what
what's
works
best
for
for you.
you.
Yeah, I was about to say
Right.
that. Do what's best for you. Yeah.
Exactly.
And don't hurt others. Hurting others won't heal
No.
you.
No, it
No,
doesn't. It just
it does
spreads
not.
the nastiness, so
Yes.
be kind to each other, everyone. You really, this is a community and we need to stick together. So,
Especially
And
if you're a Straggit. If you're a Straggit, it is the month of June. You need to
mm,
Venmo a LGBTQIA+ person money, okay?
you
Tip
do
a
not.
drag
wait,
queen.
what's a straggit? What's a straggit? I don't.
It's a straight F slur.
Oh,
Oh,
Lord.
oh.
You don't need to pay us, but what you need to do is probably pay,
Hey,
HRC or another.
you know what? No, if you want to send money, that's fine. I got a mortgage.
James is
Yeah,
like, "I've got a
like,
mortgage."
it's like
Actually, you know what? Screw the charities. Pay us directly, right?
exactly. Find a
yeah,
local gay and just
Find a
give money.
gay,
Find a gay.
pay a gay, find a
There you
gay.
go. Yes.
that's your homework.
I
Pride
like
Month.
I
Pay
like
a gay.
Robbie's thinking, yeah. Find a gay, pay a gay.
There
That's
you
Yeah.
go.
hey, maybe that's what OnlyFans is about. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Maybe at the
a
end of the
lot of
day,
those guys
it's charity.
who are I guess doing gay things are not necessarily gay though, but they get paid a
Mm,
lot of money for it though.
No, I know. Let's
it's
listen. We
gayer.
need a whole episode on OnlyFans. I think we need
That's
to
true.
discuss that.
Yeah.
That's a whole another issue. Anyway, all right, guys. Well, thank you for coming on the show. I'm glad we got to talk about Pride during Pride Month,
Yeah.
and we'll discuss more pertinent social issues on upcoming episodes. If you guys like this episode, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you, guys.
Happy Pride.
Happy
Pay a
Pride.
gay.
Pay a gay.
Pay a gay.